I
Good morning and welcome to our special fireside chat on this Sunday morning with our pastor, Dr. Robert Jeffress. We're so glad that you joined us this morning. We do have some exciting and important news to share with you. In just a moment, our pastor is going to talk with you about what we're doing to return and reopen our church, and we can't wait to get back together and worship the Lord with you. But before he does, I just want to take a moment to encourage you to be thinking about what questions you might have as you prepare to come back to church. And whether you're watching on the iCampus, on Facebook, on YouTube, be prepared to enter those questions into the chat toward the end of our discussion today. And our pastor and I are here to answer those questions to make sure that you have all the information that you need as we prepare to come back together. Now, Pastor, you do have some exciting news to share with our church about our reopening.
Well, that's right, Ben. We have been waiting for today for a long, long time. And this past Tuesday night, our deacons met by Zoom and they voted overwhelmingly for us to begin the reopening of our worship services targeted toward 2 weeks from today, Sunday, June the 7th. Now, we're not going to be foolish in how we do it. We're going to do this gradually. We are planning on Sunday, June 7th to begin opening somewhere between 20 and 25% of our capacity. We'll have services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to give plenty of time in between services to clean the facility, but also time to get everybody out from the first service and people in for the second service. Now, we'll talk about this in a moment. We will ask you to make a reservation so you can be assured of a spot. And if for any reason we have more people than the 20 to 25% capacity, we will send them to an alternate venue where they can view the service. We'll have day one at 11 a.m. beginning Sunday, June 7th as well. Now, because we're operating at 20 to 25% capacity, we'll be able to social distance. We'll have plenty of hand sanitizer. We'll continue to abstain from shaking hands and doing those things. We'll have a collection box for the offering instead of passing the plate. We are going to encourage those who have underlying respiratory issues to continue to stay at home and watch us online. We won't be able to offer Sunday school on campus or children's activities or childcare to begin with. If you already bring your children to worship, you can do that. If you would like to bring your child, we're going to encourage you if they're younger than the children's age, to perhaps go to day one where you might feel more comfortable. But the good news is we're starting. We're going to be talking about later on about Sunday school and so forth. Those can continue on Zoom. I know one Sunday school class has already voted that they're going to move their Sunday school to 2 o'clock in the afternoon so that they can attend worship. But I think this is exciting news that we are starting. Now, we understand, and we're going to say this several times, not everybody's going to feel comfortable coming. That's fine. You can stay at home and worship with us on our First Dallas iCampus until you feel comfortable. But I think it is time for us to begin the process of returning. We've said from the beginning that we're going to be data-driven, not date-driven. And we've been looking at the Dallas cases, and while there's kind of a plateau in the number of COVID cases, sometimes there's an uptick, sometimes a downturn. The other metric that we've been using is the percent of positive cases to overall tests that are being done, and that has been in a decline. And so we believe that if this decline continues, we can open partially on Sunday, June 7th. Now, you may see we're being more cautious about this than some other churches. And I'm not criticizing them. They're doing the right thing in looking at their individual situation about when to open. But the important thing is we are opening. You may have seen our president on television Friday, and he said it very, very succinctly. It is not right that there are governors in certain states who allow the liquor stores and the abortion clinics to be opened, but will not allow churches to be reopened. I agree with that completely. And if we can do it in a safe way, we need to start the opening process. By the way, after the president's speech, he called me and we were talking about something else. He said, "What are you all doing at First Baptist Dallas?" And I explained to him the plan that I just outlined to you. He said, "That is fantastic. That's exactly the way you ought to be doing it, gradually, according to your individual situation." So I'm very excited about this plan. You're going to be hearing more details about it beginning this week, how to make your reservations, all the other information you'll need. But I think you're like me, you're ready to get back to in person worship. And we'll be doing that 2 weeks from this Sunday. Then, one thing we want to do is try to make this as contactless as possible. What are some specific things we are doing to try to create a safe environment at First Baptist Dallas?
Yes, sir. We're taking many of the steps that you've seen advised by the president, the CDC, the governor of Texas, and even here in Dallas County, and additional steps that are specific to our church. Now, you've touched on many of those, but one of the things that we're doing to help kind of manage the crowds as they enter and exit the building is we're moving the services to 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, which gives us more time. We'll be cleaning thoroughly between services. Our ushers will be available to help people understand where to sit during the service and help them with the social distancing. And of course, we'll be encouraging social distancing throughout campus. We won't be handing out worship guides as we normally would. We'll have those available to pick up. We won't be passing an offering plate as we normally would, but instead we'll have more receptacles so people can place their offering into a receptacle there on campus. The invitation will look a little bit different. So rather than having a closed face to face type of invitation, we'll be asking people to indicate if they've made a decision on a card. Um, and we'll be doing our best to manage the crowds. At our church, one of the most difficult things is entering and exiting, ingress and egress throughout the building. So we'll be asking people to stay in their cars till a certain time leading up to the service, and then we'll be directing the crowds regarding the best way to exit and even the best places for them to park so that they can easily exit the campus. So we'll have hand sanitizer machines all throughout campus and available to our members. We'll also, Pastor, be asking our members and those in attendance to wear masks.
Yeah.
And we're strongly encouraging that everybody wear masks when they come on campus. They can bring their own, or we'll also have medical grade masks available to give them. And we certainly understand that not everybody wants to wear a mask, not everybody's comfortable wearing a mask, but to return to church, we're going to truly have to cooperate as a church family, and we're going to have to do some things to help make the other members of our church comfortable as they come to worship. And so, again, we're encouraging everybody to wear masks as they come. We will, as you mentioned, be taking reservations, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And also, you mentioned, I think, we are encouraging if you're a vulnerable individual, if you feel like you might be especially susceptible to this virus, to stay home and continue worshiping on the iCampus. If you have an underlying health issue, it's fine to stay home and continue worshiping on the iCampus right now. There's a time that we'll all be able to come back together, but just because we're reopening our services, that doesn't mean that it's the right thing for every person and every family to come right back together. But we're still going to be doing some really exciting things on our iCampus As you know, Pastor, we are averaging about 200,000 people each and every Sunday. We see hundreds of decisions made. So, Pastor, would you tell everyone a little bit about what we're going to be doing on the iCampus going forward?
I will, Ben, but I want to also, before I do that, pick up on this idea of the mask. You know, unfortunately, this mask issue has become a political issue to many people. It's not a political issue. It's not about your freedom. It's a medical issue. And I know there's some people who say, well, I feel comfortable not wearing a mask. Well, to be perfectly blunt, it's not about you, it's about other people. Yes, a mask may to some extent protect you from the coronavirus virus. It's really more effective in keeping other people around you from contracting it. The mask is not about what it does for you, it's about what it does for other people. And you know, the New Testament is filled with principles that say we ought not to use our freedom to hurt other people. We give up our rights for the benefit of others. And while you may feel okay about not wearing a mask, you may be around an elderly person or a person with respiratory problems who, if they contracted this virus, it could be deadly to them. So that's why we're asking everybody to wear a mask. Ben's going to be wearing a mask. I'm going to be wearing a mask, except when I preach, and there won't be anybody in close proximity to me at that time. We're all going to wear masks so that we can protect one another and get back to worship as soon as possible. Now, I know not everybody will feel comfortable coming the first several weeks. And the good news is you can still worship with us on iCampus. And we're going to have two possibilities for what you can actually do on iCampus. You know, we thought we were having such a tremendous response, hundreds of thousands of people every week, hundreds making professions of Christ. They would not be encouraged if suddenly we switched from what we're doing to showing our current worship service with limited choir and a little bit different look in the worship center. We're going to continue doing what we're doing for the masses of people around the world that are watching us. But we also realize that there are some of you who would like to see what we're doing now, what I'm preaching now in our worship service. And so we're going to offer for you a way for you to do that. There'll be a separate page that you'll go to on our website to watch the current series. 2 weeks from today, I'll pick up in our series on Revelation, Revelation chapter 7. Revelation 17. That's right. That's where we're going to be. I've already started working on that message. So you'll have two alternatives of what you can do to watch us on iCampus every week. But you know, it's good to get started back again. And I think we're ready to take the steps for these precautions that we need to take in order to get back to worship. Now, Ben, tell us one more time, if people have questions, what are they to do right now to send those questions to you?
Yes, and we have a few questions coming through already, but as you have questions about our plan to return to church, go ahead and enter those in the chat field, regardless of which platform you are watching. And we have hosts available to take those questions and pass those along to me, and we will get to as many of those as possible.
Ben, could you tell us, you know, reservations, that's a new idea for church. What does that mean? And how are people going to make reservations, and when can they start doing it?
That's a great question. It is certainly a new idea for church service, but it is going to help us and it is going to help you. So the reservations will be available this Wednesday, May 27th, and an email will go out to all of you. You want to make sure that you are on our email list and receiving those emails. It'll come out as an email in the form of a Sign Up Genius. That's the platform that we're using, and it'll give you the opportunity to reserve your spot in our church services. So the purpose of this reservation system is to help us with crowd control, help us know how many people are planning to come, and also to help us proactively communicate with you. So when you make your reservation, we'll confirm to you whether there will be room for you in the worship center, or whether you should plan to attend one of our other worship venues on campus. And we'll have several of those available to you. And then, depending on where you'll be worshiping, we'll also give you directions on the best way to enter and exit the building. We'll give you the directions on the best place to park to make it as easy as possible for you. And we'll be available to answer any other questions that you might have. So, again, this Wednesday, we'll be sending out an email, and you'll have the opportunity to respond to that and to reserve your spot. Also, Pastor, in addition to the information they'll be receiving as part of that email and in response to that email, we have a new web page that has gone live today where everybody can go and get some more information and see these details. And that can be found at firstdallas.org/welcome home. firstdallas.org/welcome home. And that web page is live, and we'll continue updating that as we go. Now, Pastor, this, of course, it's a new environment for all of us, and we've seen the news stories that tensions are high in this moment as people go out to shop or go out into the community. You've seen some of those disastrous stories, but you've been sharing with us one word that really needs to characterize the way that we interact with each other in this time. Would you share that with everyone watching today?
Well, it's the word grace. We need to exercise grace, love, understanding toward one another, especially in this transitional reopening process. For those who don't feel comfortable coming back right now, that's fine. We want you to come when you feel like it's the time for you to come. And for those who are coming, we also thank you and want to welcome you back right now. But I was thinking this week, Ben, about a phrase that Paul used in the letter to the Ephesians. He talks about the family of God, those who are on earth and those who are in heaven. Paul said there is one family, the family of God. Some of the family, he's already gone ahead of us. They're in heaven. Some are here on earth, but we're still all a part of the same family if we're a believer. It's the same thing true about First Baptist Dallas. The family of First Baptist Dallas, some will remain in quarantine, some will be at our church, but regardless, we are still all part of the same family, and soon we'll all be back together again. So if you choose not to come right now, that is absolutely fine. Know that we love you. We consider you a vital part of the church, just as much as those who determine that it's okay for them to come under these new conditions. Now, Ben, do we have any questions that we need to answer?
We do. We have several good questions from those watching. One of the questions is, how many people will be able to attend when we first reopen?
That's a great question. We're giving ourselves a little leeway. Remember, the CDC originally said that once we see this decline in positive test results, overall test results, we could open up at 50% capacity. That would be for us 1,500 people in the worship venue. It would be, about 1,000 people in day one. But we're going to be extra cautious. So we're going to look at around 500 to 600 in each venue to begin with. By the way, we're going to do the same thing with the choir. Instead of 150 in the choir, we're going to have 30 in the choir, spaced with 6 feet of separation. Same thing in the orchestra pit as well. So we're looking about 500 to 600 in each venue.
That's great. Pastor, one question here. It's a good question, and I think the answer will help put people at ease. But the question is, how many members of First Baptist have been diagnosed with COVID?
Yeah, I'm only aware of a couple of people that is true of. Maybe you can provide some other insight into that.
Yes, sir. To our knowledge, we only know of, I think, 3 people who'd been diagnosed, and they've recovered and are doing well. And so, again, as it relates to our church family, God has really protected us and watched over us. And that's part of the reason that we feel comfortable coming back to church together.
And again, that brings up a good point. I mean, we want those people coming who are not symptomatic. If you have any symptoms, if you have a fever, you ought to stay home. I mean, we're not planning to take temperature in our church. That would not be probably practical to do, but we encourage people to act responsibly and not come if they're not feeling well.
That's right. Pastor, we do have a question about the mask. One person asked, if we don't have a mask, can we wear a scarf?
Well, again, we're not going to be the police there, but the good news is we have had a member of our church donate, I believe, 50,000 masks, medical grade masks, to our church. So if you don't have one, would encourage you to wear one of the masks that we have that is medically effective, and that would be the best for you and the best for the congregation.
Pastor, you noted there, we're not going to be policing everyone with heavy-handed enforcement, and that goes for the reservation system as well. But I think that relates to the importance of our church family really cooperating with each other, cooperating with those who are serving as ushers and greeters, and helping kind of manage the crowds. Could you speak to that a little bit about how this is based in cooperation?
Right. Again, the reservation system will give you some direction. I mean, if you make your reservation and you forget to bring the printout or whatever, I mean, we're not going to say you can't come in, obviously. But and I've had people ask, well, what if I make a reservation and come and I'm turned away? Well, that's not going to happen. If you have gone through the reservation system, one of two things is going to happen. Either your reservation is going to be accepted and you can come, and if it's already filled up, you'll have notice on the reservation system that main worship center is filled up at another venue as possible. So this is a way just for us to be able to plan effectively. We do need to know you're coming so we can make sure and have a space for you.
Pastor, one person asked, may we still bring guests?
Absolutely. You can bring a guest, make a reservation for them, but yes, bring them. Now, we're not going to be doing a lot of advertising right now. We're trying to get you, our members, first of all, comfortably seated and back to worship. But if you have a guest, most assuredly, you bring them.
Another person asked if St. Paul Cafe will be reopened. And as you address that, Pastor, you might also talk about the programming and our plan to come back with full programming.
Yeah, we're going to have a gradual opening. I don't believe St. Paul Cafe is open to begin with. As I said, Sunday school will still be Zoom until probably sometime in the fall. It's interesting. We've had more attendance on Zoom than we've had in person. So those classes have been effective. Your class probably will need to adjust their Zoom time to accommodate the new worship services. We don't believe we can bring children back in a safe way right now. And so we won't have children's activities or youth activities in person, though they continue online. Those probably won't resume until the fall as well. So it's going to be a gradual reopen. And again, even in other ministries in the church, we've said we're going to be data driven, not date driven when it comes to reopening our full church.
Pastor, will there be any type of temperature check, or how are we going to make sure that people who are coming are healthy?
At this point, we're not planning to do that. We just think we need to ask our church family to act responsibly, take their own temperature. We just don't have an ability, we think, to do that effectively right now. That could change.
We have a question about valet parking. and there won't be valet parking for the foreseeable future. Possibly in the future, we'll reinstitute that. But also a question about what are we doing for the handicap.
I'm going to let you address that, what that plan is.
So we'll have the same type of accommodations that we normally would for those with handicaps or those that need special accommodations. We'll have people in place that will, our volunteers will have masks and gloves. They'll be prepared to help you and social distance to the extent possible. But we'll be prepared to accommodate all of those types of special requests. Now, if you are making a reservation, go ahead and make your reservation. But also, if you have a specific need that you need to ask about, you'll have an opportunity to respond to that reservation email, or you can also email us at info@firstdallas.org, info or firstdallas.org. Pastor, one final question here. I know we're wrapping up on time, but as we come back together and to worship, I know one big question people have are we going to be able to sing together?
Yes, we are going to be able to sing, and we've got exciting music that is already being planned, and we've got a magnificent choir. There'll be about 30 of them in the choir loft, but we're going to enhance that with a video choir that will be joining in with us of our members. So there's going to be great, full, majestic music as we're used to at First Baptist Dallas. So yes, we're going to sing. We're going to read the scriptures together. And let me just say, it's not going to be exactly like it was in the past or like it's going to be later in the future. But I think you'll agree with me. It's going to be tremendous for us to be back together. And whether you're with us in person or watching online, I think you'll be glad to know that First Baptist Church is starting to worship again. Thank you for your patience during this time. Thank you for your continued faithfulness in your giving and in your praying for our church. Man, to think about the thousands and thousands that have come to know Christ these last 7 or 8 weeks, it's been unbelievable. Now, don't forget to join us today, our First Dallas iCampus at 9:30 and 11 o'clock. I'm going to be preaching on how to prepare for our journey to heaven. And today I also am going to be interviewing Pete Hegseth, our friend from Fox and Friends. He has a new book, American Crusade, out. And I'm going to talk to him and what it means to be in an American crusade from a Christian point of view. So I hope you'll join iCampus today at 9:30 and 11 a.m. Central. Thank you so much for joining us today. We love you and hope you have a great week. Don't forget to go to our website, firstdallas.org, to check out all of the details about our reopening. And don't forget to make your reservation starting this Wednesday. Thank you, Ben. We'll look forward to seeing you for worship in just a few minutes.